Wake up, not because the sun has risen, not because the clock has spoken, not because your risks are waiting for you like creditors are at the door. Wake up because your soul is still breathing. Wake up because mercy has not let you go. Wake up because you have been granted something terrifying and beautiful all at once another day. You opened your eyes, and that alone should shake you. You were not owed this morning. You were not promised this breath. You were not guaranteed this strength in your limbs or clarity in your mind, and yet here you are, alive, conscious, standing at the edge of another day that will never come again. Do not rush past that. Do not treat this moment as common. The greatest tragedy of most lives is not suffering, but familiarity. Familiarity with grace. Familiarity with breath. Familiarity with time. We wake up like machines and move like animals driven by habit, not conviction. We scroll, we sip, we sigh, and we stumble into the day without ever asking why we exist or who we answer to. And then we wonder why our lives feel hollow, why our prayers feel weak, why our courage disappears the moment pressure comes. This morning is not neutral ground. It is a battlefield. Every morning is. Before your feet hit the floor, forces are already at work to shape the direction of your heart. Your flesh is already whispering, telling you to stay comfortable, to stay distracted, to stay small. The world is already shouting, telling you that your worth is measured by applause, success, pleasure, and ease. And your enemy is already scheming, content if you live another day asleep, another day busy but not holy, another day active but not obedient. So the question is not whether you will be influenced today. The question is who will rule you. Do not tell yourself that today is just another day. That lie has ruined more people than outright rebellion ever has. Days become weeks, weeks become years, years become a life, and suddenly you are standing at the end of it, wondering how you drifted so far from the fire you once had, how your convictions became preferences, how your prayers became phrases, how your love became a memory. This morning is a summons. You have been called out of sleep, out of comfort, out of passivity. You are not here to merely exist. You are not here to coast. You are not here to blend in with a generation that avoids truth and fears sacrifice. You were made for something weighty, something demanding, something that requires more than motivation and discipline. It requires surrender. Look honestly at yourself. Not the version you present to others, not the version you defend in arguments, not the version you compare to people who make you feel superior. Look at the real you, the private you, the you that exists when no one is watching and nothing is being recorded. That is the person this morning is speaking to. That is the person who must decide whether today will be ruled by appetite or obedience, by fear or faith, by self or something greater. You do not need another inspirational quote. You do not need another playlist to pump you up. You do not need another excuse. What you need is truth, and truth is often violent to our pride. Truth tells you that laziness is not a personality trait, it is a moral failure. Truth tells you that distraction is not harmless, it is a slow poison. Truth tells you that discipline is not oppression, it is freedom. And truth tells you that No one is coming to rescue you from a life you are unwilling to take responsibility for. This morning demands clarity. Who are you living for? Not who do you claim to live for, not what do you post about, not what you say when asked. Who actually governs your decisions when obedience costs you something? Who do you listen to when truth collides with comfort? Who do you obey when no one will ever know? If your faith only survives when it is convenient, it is not faith. If your convictions disappear the moment they threaten your reputation, they were never convictions. If your devotion only exists in words and emotions, but not in sacrifice and obedience, it is empty noise. You say you want change. You say you want strength. You say you want purpose. But listen carefully, you cannot want the fruit while hating the root. You cannot want power without discipline. You cannot want clarity without repentance. You cannot want intimacy with God while clinging to the very things that separate you from Him. This morning is not about hype. It is about war. And wars are not won by people who feel ready, but by people who are resolved. You will not always feel motivated. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel certain. But you can choose obedience even when your emotions rebel against it. You can choose truth even when lies feel more comforting. You can choose discipline even when your body begs for ease. Get out of bed with intention. Not rushed, not frantic, but deliberate. Your first moments matter more than you think. What you look at first will shape what you desire. What you listen to first will shape what you believe. What you give your attention to first will shape what you obey. Do not hand the steering wheel of your soul to whatever happens to be loudest. There is something deeply wrong when the first voice we listen to in the morning is the world's noise instead of God's truth. There is something broken when we give our best attention to screens and our leftovers to prayer. And then we wonder why we feel spiritually malnourished, why temptation feels stronger than us, why our resolve collapses under pressure. This morning, take responsibility for your attention. Take responsibility for your thoughts. Take responsibility for your time. These are not small things. They are the raw materials of your character. You are being shaped whether you like it or not. The only question is whether you are being shaped intentionally or passively. Do not underestimate the power of ordinary obedience. The world celebrates extremes and ignores faithfulness. But lives are not transformed by dramatic moments alone. They are transformed by quiet decisions made consistently over time. Getting up when you do not feel like it. Praying when it feels dry. Choosing truth when lies would be easier. Turning away from sin even when no one would ever find out. This is where strength is forged. Not on stages, not in speeches, but in mornings like this one, when you decide that comfort will not be your God and ease will not be your master. You are not weak because you struggle. You are weak if you surrender without a fight. You are not a failure because you feel fear. You fail when fear becomes your authority. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is obedience in the presence of it. Stop waiting for ideal conditions. Stop waiting for clarity that does not require faith. Stop waiting for confidence that does not require obedience. You act, and clarity follows. You obey and strength comes. You move forward and the path appears. This morning is a gift, but it is also a test. It will reveal what you truly value. When pressure comes, when inconvenience appears, when obedience costs you something, what will you do? Will you rationalize? Will you delay? Will you compromise just a little? Or will you stand even if your hands shake and your voice trembles? Do not tell yourself that small compromises do not matter. That lie has dismantled more lives than open rebellion. You do not fall off a cliff all at once. You drift, you justify, you adjust. And one day you look back and realize you are far from where you were meant to be. This morning, draw a line, not for show, not for others, for your soul. Decide what you will no longer excuse. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. Decide what you will pursue, even when it costs you comfort, reputation, or convenience. You have been given agency. That is both a gift and a responsibility. You cannot control everything that happens to you today, but you are responsible for how you respond to it. You are responsible for what you allow to shape you. You are responsible for the direction of your obedience. Do not waste this day trying to impress people who cannot save you or satisfy you. Do not build your life on approval that disappears the moment you disappoint someone. Live before God, not the crowd. Fear Him more than you fear failure. Desire His approval more than applause. There is a kind of seriousness that is missing in many lives. Not joyless, not cold, but weighty. A recognition that life is not a game, that choices echo into eternity, that how you live today matters more than how you feel about it. Recover that seriousness, not as a burden, but as clarity. This morning, you are either moving toward obedience or away from it. There is no neutral. There is no standing still. The idea that you can pause your spiritual life and pick it up later is a myth. What you neglect today will cost you tomorrow. Stand up, not just physically, but inwardly. Shake off the fog of distraction. Refuse the lie that you are powerless. You are not helpless. You are not a victim of your habits. You are not enslaved to your impulses unless you choose to be. Yes, discipline will hurt at first. Obedience often does. Growth always does. But pain that produces life is not your enemy. Comfort that slowly kills your soul is. Let this morning mark something. Not a feeling, not a promise made in emotion, but a decision rooted in truth. Decide that you will not live another day half awake. Decide that you will not keep offering excuses where repentance is required. Decide that you will pursue holiness, not because it makes you impressive, but because it makes you alive. You will stumble. You will fail at times. That is not the end. The end comes when you stop getting back up, when you stop fighting, when you make peace with the very things that are destroying you. Refuse that surrender. Refuse that quiet death. This morning, align your life, not perfectly, but sincerely, not dramatically, but honestly. Bring your thoughts, your desires, your plans under truth. Let your day be governed by obedience rather than impulse. You do not know how many mornings you have left. None of us do. That should not terrify you, it should clarify you. Use this one well. Live it awake. Live it obedient. Live it as someone who understands that life is not about self-expression, but faithful stewardship. Now move. Not rushed, not frantic, but resolved. Carry this seriousness with you. Carry this clarity with you. Let it shape your words, your work, your reactions, your choices. And when the day is over, let it be said that you did not waste the gift you were given this morning. Wake up, not as someone dragged unwillingly into consciousness, not as someone irritated that sleep has been interrupted, but as someone who understands the weight of being awake. Awareness is not automatic just because your eyes are open. Many wake up physically while remaining deeply asleep in their souls. They move through the morning by instinct, by habit, by appetite, without ever realizing that the first moments of the day are already shaping the direction of their obedience. To wake up with sober awareness is to recognize that this moment is not ordinary, that breath is not guaranteed, that time is not renewable, and that you stand accountable for what you do with what has been entrusted to you. Sober awareness begins with honesty, not the kind of honesty that compares yourself to others to feel better, but the kind that stands still and refuses excuses. It is the awareness that your heart is not neutral, that your desires are not pure by default, that left unchecked you will drift toward comfort rather than truth. This awareness does not flatter you. It humbles you. It reminds you that you are capable of self-deception, that you can convince yourself you are doing well while slowly neglecting the very things that give life. Without sober awareness, mornings become dangerous because they feel harmless. You repeat patterns without examining them. You tolerate thoughts without challenging them. You feed habits without questioning where they are leading you. Intentional obedience cannot exist without this awareness. Obedience that is accidental is rare, and obedience that is convenient is shallow. Intentional obedience means you choose beforehand who you will serve when pressure comes. It means you do not wait for emotion to give you permission to do what is right. Feelings are unreliable leaders. They rise and fall with sleep, stress, success, and disappointment. If your obedience depends on how motivated you feel in the morning, you will obey only when it costs you nothing. Intentional obedience is rooted in conviction, not mood. Most people want the outcomes of obedience without the posture of it. They want peace without surrender, strength without discipline, clarity without repentance. But obedience always begins with submission, and submission always begins with humility. To wake up intentionally obedient is to say, before the day starts, that your will is not supreme. It is to acknowledge that your instincts need correction, that your preferences need restraint, that your plans need alignment. This is not weakness. This is sanity. Sober awareness recognizes the quiet power of the small decision. The world trains you to think that only dramatic moments matter, that life is shaped by major events and public choices. But most of who you become is formed in private, repetitive decisions that seem insignificant at the time. What you allow your mind to dwell on in the morning. What you reach for first when you wake up. Whether you rush into noise or sit with truth. These choices are not neutral. They either train you to be governed by impulse or by discipline. Intentional obedience often feels unimpressive. There is no applause for getting out of bed when your body demands more sleep. There is no recognition for choosing prayer when distraction would be easier. There is no audience when you turn away from a thought that feeds pride, lust, bitterness, or fear. But unseen obedience is the foundation of visible strength. What you practice in secret will eventually surface in public, whether for good or for ruin. To live without sober awareness is to live reactively. You respond to whatever is loudest, most urgent, or most emotionally charged. You let circumstances dictate your attitude, and you let inconvenience justify compromise. Intentional obedience reverses that order. It places truth above urgency, conviction above convenience, and faith above fear. It means you decide in advance that no matter how the day unfolds, there are lines you will not cross and responsibilities you will not abandon. This kind of obedience requires seriousness, not severity, but seriousness. A recognition that life is not casual, that choices matter, that character is either being built or eroded every single day. Sober awareness strips away the illusion that tomorrow will fix what you avoid today. Procrastination in obedience is still disobedience. Delay is not neutral. It hardens the heart and weakens resolve. What you refuse to confront in the morning often grows stronger by the evening. Intentional obedience also requires patience. Not everything changes quickly. Habits resist replacement. Old patterns fight to survive. You may wake up with resolve and still feel resistance within you. That does not mean you are failing. It means you are fighting. Growth is often quiet and slow, but it is real. Do not despise steady obedience just because it lacks drama. A life anchored in truth is built gradually, like a foundation laid stone by stone. Sober awareness guards you against self-pity. When you are aware, you stop exaggerating your suffering and minimizing your responsibility. You acknowledge hardship without using it as an excuse to abandon obedience. You stop rehearsing how tired you are, how busy you are, how unfair things feel, and you start asking how you can remain faithful within those realities. Intentional obedience does not wait for ideal conditions. It acts faithfully in imperfect ones. This awareness also protects you from pride. When you recognize that every morning is a gift, you stop treating success as entitlement. You understand that strength is borrowed, not owned, and that ability is stewardship, not identity. Obedience grounded in humility does not boast when things go well and does not despair when they do not. It remains steady because it is anchored in something deeper than outcomes. To wake up intentionally obedient is to accept responsibility for your inner life. You stop blaming external forces for internal chaos. You take ownership of your thoughts, your reactions, your words. You recognize that while you cannot control everything that happens to you, you are accountable for how you respond. This responsibility is heavy, but it is also freeing. It means your life is not merely happening to you. It is being shaped by you. Sober awareness also sharpens discernment. You begin to recognize subtle compromises that once went unnoticed. You become sensitive to the ways distraction steals focus, how entertainment dulls seriousness, how constant noise weakens reflection. You realize that not everything that is permissible is beneficial, and not everything that feels harmless is harmless. Intentional obedience teaches you to choose what strengthens you over what merely pleases you. There will be mornings when awareness feels costly, when obedience feels like resistance against your own desires, when the easier path is to numb yourself, delay, or disengage. Those mornings reveal what rules you. Anyone can obey when obedience aligns with comfort. Character is revealed when obedience requires denial. This denial is not about punishment. It is about alignment. You deny what weakens you to strengthen what matters. Living this way will make you different. Not louder, not superior, but distinct. While others rush into the day unexamined, you move deliberately. While others are ruled by urgency, you are governed by conviction. While others exhaust themselves, chasing approval, you measure success by faithfulness. This difference may not be celebrated. It may even be misunderstood, but it will produce depth, stability, and resilience that cannot be manufactured. Sober awareness keeps you from wasting emotional energy on trivial things. When you understand the weight of obedience, you stop obsessing over minor offenses, fleeting opinions, and temporary setbacks. You conserve your strength for what matters. You learn to let go of distractions that drain you without nourishing you. Intentional obedience simplifies life, not by making it easier, but by making it clearer. This way of living also prepares you for suffering. A person who wakes up intentionally obedient is not shocked when difficulty comes. They are not undone by inconvenience or opposition. They have already settled who they are and what they will do. Their obedience is not situational, it is principled. And when trials expose weakness, sober awareness drives them to humility rather than despair. Each morning becomes an act of alignment. You bring your thoughts back under truth. You bring your desires back under discipline. You bring your plans back under purpose. This alignment does not mean perfection. It means direction. You may stumble during the day, but you are not wandering aimlessly. You know where you are headed and why. To wake up this way is to resist a culture that glorifies comfort and despises restraint. It is to reject the lie that freedom means doing whatever you feel like doing. True freedom is the ability to do what is right, even when it is hard. Intentional obedience trains that freedom. It strengthens your will, sharpens your conscience, and steadies your heart. Sober awareness also deepens gratitude. When you recognize that nothing is owed to you, everything becomes a gift. The ordinary becomes meaningful. Work becomes stewardship. Time becomes sacred. Relationships become responsibilities. You stop consuming life and start honoring it. This kind of morning does not make you rigid or joyless. It grounds your joy in something unshakable. Pleasure comes and goes, but peace rooted in obedience remains. You are no longer at war with yourself, constantly pulled between what you know is right and what you want in the moment. Over time, your desires begin to align with your convictions, not because you force them, but because you train them. And so you wake up again aware, deliberate, resolved, knowing that obedience today will shape who you become tomorrow, and that how you live this ordinary morning will echo far beyond it